Hi everybody, Father Bill Holtzinger here, and this is your Friday Reflection. Well, last time we got together, if you checked in last week, I talked about AI and what it is and what it is not, and that was kind of following on Father Dominic's reflection, kind of a philosophical understanding of AI and what it takes to be really intelligent. I kind of spoke about just the basics about what it is, using auto spell and auto check, auto, guessing words we might write, and what are called large language models, LLMs. Large language models are these massive databases of not just words and text, but entire documents and libraries and things like that. It's enormous, and because of that enormity of that data set, it's able to give us incredible information back. But again, more information about that, you can listen to it in the previous video. I want to talk about what had happened the week before. I had just come back, in that video, I had just come back from the priest convocation, an annual gathering of the priests, the archdiocese, all the active priests, and some of our retired. And this time, which is a little different than other times, typically we have a guest speaker come in, talk about something about the priesthood, maybe talk about some spirituality, about discernment. There's just various things that one might do, a day or 2 days of talks. We'd reflect on that, and then we'd have some business as well to do. Well, we meet every first full week of October. Well, this time it was a little different in that the Archbishop wanted us to reflect on some work he's been doing. It's a pastoral letter. He wants to write a pastoral letter for all of us to understand this mission he feels, which we will call a mission renewal for all of our parishes, schools, priests, the entire archdiocese. So what he did is he wanted us to then read part of the draft document, and we had specific talks about the different sections by different people. The Archbishop started, and then we had other people talk about the 3 other parts, and I'll get into that in a second. And then we, as a vicariate, broke into different groupings, and we talked about what we heard from the different talks, and we then bounced back and then talked about them and shared with the whole presbyterate that was there, that's the group of priests, with the Archbishop there kind of taking notes and other people taking notes. So what is going on? So the Archbishop wants us to have an ongoing transformational encounter with Jesus. Something that is not something we're just maintaining, but growing ever more. That is involving the priests, that is the parishes, that is the schools, the whole archdiocese. And in fact, that kind of gives away kind of the 3 parts. So again, he was trying to help us prepare, or help him prepare for this document. And I don't know exactly when it's coming out, because again, it was in pretty rough draft form. But maybe I'll just share with you some of the things that I heard and things that are kind of the big picture stuff. So the Archbishop recognizes that we need a healing and renewal. We need to recognize that we are a field hospital as a church. That's what Pope Francis kind of spoke about. And we need to recognize that we're wounded, we're fallen, and we need Christ. And not just us, but ever more our culture. And who's going to do that? I mean, it is the church that has the greatest news, better than any news you can watch, the greatest news that makes the most impactful impactful experience on our lives, because it is eternal. Our goal is not to increase the GNP. It's not about getting jobs. It's about becoming saints, and then helping others become saints, and sharing the gospel, letting them know about the healing that can be brought into one's life because of this ongoing transformational relationship with Jesus. But we do recognize that there are many generations that the church encompasses, and they have different times in which they have come through different challenges, and this time is our time. We might be like dreading sometimes the things that are going on, but God has placed us in this time for a certain reason, and we need to grasp that and go forward in it. So, his document broke things into 3 parts. The first one is a renewal of the priesthood. So he's been working on this with us for many years now, which started with Bob Shooks, with Father John Ricardo, these people coming in and helping us kind of reflect on our vocation, what it is that is our mission, that is to help rescue people from from death and sin. That includes ourselves, of course, to have a renovation of zeal for our priesthood. And then, of course, that will then affect the second part, which is our parishes. So another talk occurred about the renewal of parishes, that we want to be evangelizing parishes. So what does that mean? You may or may not know, but every parish, all the pastors, pastoral councils, other groups may have engaged in this at your parish. In our case, it was the pastoral council that we were looking at what they called an examen, kind of like an examination of conscience, but it's actually like an institutional examen. What's going on? Are we in evangelizing parish? Are we in maintaining mode? Are we declining? What are our struggles? What are our gifts? And those kind of things we reported back to the Archbishop. And with that, then there's a team that's kind of looking at these things and then are going to review, and then the Archbishop will and has actually gone out to vicariate areas and spoke with the priests and other people about what's the dynamics going on in their parishes and how can the Archdiocese help, but also how might they be able to help with each other, because that means that some parishes are so small they may not even be able to afford the priests that they have. So how can we do that in a more efficient way? And I don't mean just cost efficient, but an efficient way to express the gospel. If there's very few people at a church, this evangelizing is very difficult sometimes, because it does take a community of joyful people to kind of encourage others, because it's really simple to just get into maintenance mode. So the priest, if we're energized to be evangelizing, we can help the parishioners do the same, that's great. But again, we're not here for maintenance mode. We're here to help rise from our parishes saintly people. And that means, of course, that's God's work, but we need to create an environment by which that is happening. And I think we do a pretty good job. Holy Trinity and a lot of the parishes on the west side are rather large, but there are some parishes that are small and have been declining. So what happens to those parishes? So that's the discernment. And every parish is going to get a different look because of the different situations, with the reflection of that pastor and the parishes around, the pastors around in the area, to see how can they maybe, work together in some way. So that's an ongoing discussion. And it is actually happening now. The other thing that's been going on is a renewal of the Catholic schools. Kind of a key moment for that was the closing of the Archdiocese Catholic Schools Department and a changing of the paradigm from a school district approach to more of a missionary kind of office that's going to help the schools, led by their pastor, to again be an evangelizing entity within the parish. And in fact, if the school's not evangelizing, it shouldn't exist, basically. So that is then something that we then, as a parish school, also had to do and examine amongst ourselves to see how we're doing and what can we do better. So the Office of Ministry for Catholic Education, as it's called now, or OMSI, we say, it has a set of priorities that are really to help pastors and principals and leadership to help raise up the Catholic identity within their school. And because there's been a lot of struggles with secularism within our schools, and that then diminishes our ability to preach the gospel. Just one example is, it may be the thing that we might do this. We might ask kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? Or should we be saying something more like, what do you think God is calling you to be when you grow up? You see the difference? So it's with a Catholic point of view, a Catholic worldview. Another one might be, let's say, when we look at our sciences, we can do the science, we can do the chemistry, we can do these experiments, but do we take time to be in awe of those things? Like, oh my goodness, the beauty of these things, and recognize that God is the creator of this biology, and we give thanks to Him. So it's more than just doing science, it's doing what we might call not just physics, but metaphysics. And you can do that even at the grade school level. Yeah. And of course then embodying all the different studies with that Catholic point of view, that Catholic ethos, that Catholic worldview. Another one might be around history. I know that when I was at public school, which I had a great education, but I took U.S. history as a high schooler. And I don't remember much history from grade school, but I know there was some, like how the United States came to be. But how about history or Western civilization, and how the Catholic Church has been instrumental in actually forming and propping up and bolstering Western civilization and hospitals and education, the whole school idea, or a scientific method, or the Bible. There's just so many things the church has done that has allowed us to be to where we are now. And that's because of the faith, not just because we were educated, but it was educated with a sense that science, that is reason, and faith go together. And I would say that's not necessarily what's going on in our public schools. I would say often it's a secular worldview, and this faith aspect is not taught or can't be taught. And that's a big part of an education that has just been taken out. That science or reason and faith, we know that they do go together. Some of the most amazing things that have been discovered or science that has been done by Catholics. If you go back, especially in the annals of history for science, it is clerics or religious people that have done the amazing studies. And yeah, it's because they had the time to do that. They were plowing fields and things. But that just kind of gives you a sense that we're not afraid of science. We put these together, and then we have a whole picture now of something that's going on, whether it be an understanding of creation or an understanding of physics, whatever it might be, biology. We can look at that in awe and wonder like how amazing this is that God has put this all together. So again, it's pouring into the priests, pouring into the parishes, and pouring into the schools this zeal for the faith, to be mindful of, are we in a mode of just maintenance? And if we are, we need to change, because that's not what we're called to be. Our mission is not to be just maintaining, but going out and evangelizing. And that's hard. We Catholics don't want to talk about sometimes our faith, but we need to. And not only just need to, it's actually a calling. We hear in the end of chapter of the Gospel of Matthew that we're to go out and proclaim the gospel to all the ends of the earth, baptizing them, that is the people, in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And he will be with us until the end of the age. Well, this is the end of this video. I just want to give you a kind of sense of this is what the priest convocation was about. We'll see all this coming to a pastoral letter sometime soon to be published, and probably more detail that I'm giving you, because I'm going to be giving you just kind of a big swath of it. And yeah, I appreciate your prayers while we were gone. And yes, I did get to go in the ocean. I did, yes, get to boogie board there and had a lot of fun there. But also, it was a good time to be with my brothers, my brother priests, and to just see how they're doing and just share stories and listen. It was wonderfully, especially for me, to get to see the different parochial vicars I've been with just in my time at Holy Trinity, and the other parochial vicars that were at Holy Trinity before me. So that'll do it for today. May God bless you all, and I'll see you this weekend. I think Father Dominic is giving the homily, and please pray for him. Bye-bye.